What's up, everybody? Happy Wednesday and welcome to the Early Edge. Very excited to see the chat. Everyone in the chat, Ben Horner, Big Cheesy, Bradley Jacobs says he has a soccer play to impart on everybody. Excited to see that. Speaking of plays, let's see how we did as a brand on the Early Edge yesterday. A lot of green check marks. Looks like we went 6-2. We'll take that every single time, and we'll hope to do it again today with the stars of the show. But before we get to them, let's talk about the Sports Podcast Awards. Let's go ahead and vote. We've got the link in the description here. It's in the podcast and YouTube description for Best Fantasy Betting and Gaming Podcast. We are a finalist in that category for the Sports Podcast Awards. To help us bring home some hardware, use the link in the description and go vote. Voting is open until January 28th, so hit the link and vote for the Early Edge. I vote for having this show be more than just me in the chat. So let's bring in the stars of the show. None other than, oh man, Tim Doyle. It's Wednesday. He's got the shades on. He just got back from the club. He's wearing the club shirt. He's got the bag of props. We got Mike McClure. We got Mikey B. Tim Doyle doing the night at the Roxbury bit. Martin Green is in the chat. He'll be on the show in a second. We got Japan in the chat. Bradley Jacobs, like I said, Rick Funcannon, CID is in the chat. Mark Buckholtz, fresh off the birth of his daughter yesterday. I believe it was Emma. Congratulations to Mark. Hopefully you're getting some sleep. Tim, I always got to start with you, man. You're looking good. You're looking fresh. You're looking like, listen, it never feels like morning for you. It always feels like you've been hitting the ground running since 6 a.m. How are you, sir?
You know, I have 3 children, Sia, and according to Dr. Weinstein in Wheaton, Illinois, there will be no more children in the Doyle household. Okay, so let's hope that he did what he had to do back in the day. So, yes, I drive a minivan. Yes, there's 2 sunroofs. And even McClure knows this, 36 cup holders, so I can have a whole fraternity party in there.
Mark Buckholtz, don't you get that minivan. Do not sell out. All right, speaking of selling out, let's go to Boston. Let's go to the marquee matchups because we've got a lot of NBA games that I just want to go around the horn and get some takes here. Of course, all odds powered by BetMGM. You know that, and we got a promo to talk to you about with BetMGM, but we'll do that in a second. Let's talk T-Wolves, Celtics. Celtics at home, -7.5. We've got a total of 223.5 here. Mikey B, I'm going to start with you. This game is at 7:10 Eastern Standard Time. Any takes on this one?
So the big news for this game is that the Timberwolves played in Orlando yesterday. They were unable to fly out last night because of weather. They are planning on arriving in Boston early this afternoon. That is not ideal travel situation. On the other hand, this is also the first half of a back-to-back set for the Celtics. Kristaps Porzingis and Jrue Holiday are listed as questionable. If I had to pick a side, I'd lean towards the Celtics covering, but right now, I don't really like this game.
Mike McClure, I don't love that travel situation. I will say this, though. The T-Wolves, if memory serves, didn't have to play much of the fourth quarter in terms of their starters because they were absolutely waxing the Orlando Magic. Any plays in this one?
It would be Boston or nothing here for me, Sia. It's been an absolutely brutal situation for Minnesota, not just this particular travel situation, but just over the last month of the season. They played a ton of games on the road, a ton of travel. We've seen direct quotes from players about not enjoying it, most notably Mike Conley. So I think that this is a spot that they were glad they got that big win last night with the travel situation and everything. To me, it would be Boston or nothing, with a pretty good lean to the under, as both of these teams are very good defensively.
Tim, I saw Tim shaking his head, and Mike, no worries. It wasn't at you. It was clearly at Mark Buckholtz in the chat, who says, I'll put my child in a basket on a bicycle before purchasing a minivan. Shots fired, my friend Tim. Any take on that or on T-Wolves Celtics?
Yeah, I mean, Barner's right. I mean, great points about the travel, who's going to play for Boston. McClure's right. You either bet Boston at home or you don't bet this game. But, man, you know what pissed me off, Sia? My last year at Northwestern, okay, Mike Conley led the Big Ten Conference at assists and steals, okay? Do you know who is second, Sia? Yours truly. All right, Mike Conley has made over $200 million in the NBA. Last year, I made 86.5. Okay, I don't know where my life has necessarily gone wrong, but God, I hate Mike Conley. I think it's Boston or nothing. Last time they played, it was all Minnesota. They won that game. Boston shot 28% from 3. They had 18 turnovers. Derek White did not play in the first meeting. Guys, he averaged 20 points a game in December. It's either Celtics or bust, but you got to see who's playing.
Wait a second. Okay, we're going to get to Sixers Hawks in a second. I have to stop real quick. Were you really okay? So you went to St. John's, you transferred to Northwestern, and you were second behind Mike Conley in steals and assists.
I didn't know this was going to be a therapy session, Sia. I just thought I was coming on picking a handful of games. Okay, I really don't want to go down this path again. But yes, this is all true.
That's amazing. I am even more impressed than I already was, which for the record wasn't that much. All right, 76ers at the Hawks. Speaking of unimpressive, anytime the Hawks are at home, I'm just like, I mean, do they even have a home field? Like, is there a home court advantage in Atlanta really in any sport? Not so sure, unless maybe the Braves are doing super well. We got the Hawks -1.5 again at home against the Sixers, 245.5 point total. Mikey B, I'm starting with you. Any takes on this one?
Yeah, a number of this small, I'd rather just play the money line with the Hawks. The key here, Joel Embiid out again for the 76ers. Tobias Harris is back, which is a big help, but the 76ers are 2-6 without Embiid this season. So I'll just play the Hawks on the money line.
Mike, do you agree?
Yeah, I do agree. I think that it's a fascinating spot anytime you remove Joel Embiid. You're right, there's no home court advantage for Atlanta. They might get Melton back on the 76ers side, which I think is a plus. So yeah, for me, I do lean 76ers here, but not something I'm going to play at this point.
Tim Doyle, any takes on Sixers Hawks?
No Embiid is the difference, but you have to say I'm betting the Hawks 3 times to convince yourself, because when you bet them, you just never know what you're going to get. Even last game they played, they were down 4 with 50 seconds left. They take Orlando to overtime, and you're like, they're definitely going to win this game. They found a way to lose. So I'm actually going to take Philadelphia, but this is really a coin flip game.
All right. Michael McCry, I think I'm pronouncing that right. I've never seen that spelling before. He says Doyle is my new favorite capper. Me too, Michael. So that's awesome. By the way, Chris Kish, a big supporter of the Early Edge and a lot of the things that a lot of us individually do on Twitter. He says, hey, everyone, today's my birthday. So here's a birthday lean for the Sony, which, of course, starts tomorrow early afternoon. Brian Harmon, top 20 +110 on DraftKings. FYI, that's a really good reminder. On SportsLine, you can catch Mike McClure's simulations, of course, for every tournament on SportsLine when it comes to the PGA Tour. And I'll have picks on this very show tomorrow morning for the Sony Open, which will not have started because it's off in Hawaii. Chris Kish, I do like that lean at plus money. I think Brian Harmon's going to have a nice tournament. Happy birthday to you. There was somebody in the chat yesterday that also had a birthday. Reveal yourself so I can say happy birthday to you, because I didn't give you a shout out yesterday. Hit the like button, by the way. Thunder -4.5 at the Heat. Mikey B, the Heat, I don't know. Do they have Jimmy Butler back? It's 234.5. I don't believe they do. Eric Spoelstra just got paid the best NBA coach in the National Basketball Association. What's your take here, Mike?
Yeah, I don't feel good picking against the Heat, but I'm going to pick against the Heat and take the Thunder to cover. You mentioned Jimmy Butler is again out. Caleb Martin and Kyle Lowry are both listed as doubtful. So that's 3 key players for the Heat. The Thunder are healthy. They're 14-7 against the spread as favorites this season. So I'll go with the Thunder.
Hard for me to look away from the Thunder, in spite of the Heat always sort of overperforming in spots like this. Mike McClure, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm right there with him. I think this number should be 6, even though it is on the road. Again, Miami, not a massive home court advantage unless you're hanging out there for a week. So yeah, it's definitely not a situation that's good for the Heat when you've removed those 3 players. Oklahoma City actually has some sneaky depth overall as well. When you look at that roster in this matchup, I think that they're going to have a ton of success here. So I like the Thunder -4.5.
Sneaky take on if you're in Miami for about a week, how that might affect you playing basketball. Tim Doyle, what are we at? Where are we at on Thunder Heat?
I'm going to just throw this out there, okay? I think this is a possible NBA Finals matchup. I'm just going to put that out there, okay? Now, no Jimmy Butler in this game, but Tyler Hero's got to be better. He's had games of 9 points and 12 points in the month of January. You can't have 9 and 12. In those games, the Heat are 0-2. Here's why I'm picking Miami, okay? Visualize this. You're living in Oklahoma City, right? There's like hay going by. You're on top of a horse, like Old Town Road video. Now you go to Atlanta. You go to Brooklyn. You're in Washington, D.C., and now you're in Miami. Oh, like that makes me nervous. Bunch of 20-year-olds that are millionaires going to Brooklyn. OKC's better. We all know that. Mike even said the line should be different. But you put those guys in those cities, a lot of temptation there, because what happens is I'm married, okay, happily, but my buddy's not. You open up those filters a little more in those big cities, right? Maybe you expand that distance an extra 25 to 50 miles on those apps, Bumble, whatever else you're on. So this makes me nervous for the Thunder. Give me the dog in this spot. I'm going to take Miami.
Elite take from Tim Doyle. As usual, we got 2 more NBA games to talk about, and then we're going to get into our best bets. Of course, we're going to bring Martin Green back. Oh, and speaking of gurus, Larry Hartstein, the maestro, he's in the chat. Ask him anything you want. Ben Horner's in the chat. You can ask him anything you want. What's up, Taylor DeHart? What's up, Rick Funcannon? I see you, Berg Bets. We got everybody in the chat right now. All right, let's go. Pelicans -1.5 at the Warriors, 233.5 point total. Mikey B, at some point, even without Draymond, I mean, the Warriors are going to bounce back. They're going to have that game. I don't see why it's not tonight, but maybe you're going to tell me why it's not.
I'll tell you why it's not. I'm just going to take the Pelicans on the money line. Again, we got a small line here. Now, we do have to keep an eye on Zion Williamson, who's listed as questionable. But with the Warriors, they played each of their last 6 games at home, one of the best home teams in the league last season. They went 2-4 over their 6 games, and one of the 2 wins came over the Pistons. Draymond Green, Chris Paul, Gary Payton II, 3 of their better defenders, all out. I don't think their defense can hang with the Pelicans here.
Yeah, fair enough. Mike McClure, do you agree with me or do you agree with Mikey B?
I agree with both of you in a way. I like the Pelicans in this game, but I do think the Warriors will get things turned around at some point here for sure. But I do like the Pelicans in this one. It's an interesting travel and rest spot for them. They've had 3 days off ahead of this game. They have another day off tomorrow. So it should be one that, as long as Zion's injury that he's calling it, and it's not a rest situation, he should be in the lineup here. When they've got everyone in like this, I think that they've got enough depth. I think they're long enough defensively that the way to beat them is Steph's going to have a big night from 3-point range, and I don't see him having 8 threes in this game. So I'll take the Pelicans.
All right, Tim Doyle, I might have to actually put in an official play on the Warriors just so I can victory lap this particular situation tomorrow on the early edge. Agree or disagree? Maybe it's time for the Warriors to pull off a nice win.
Yeah, I think this is a hammer play here with the Pelicans, okay? Mike talked about, Barner did, Golden State beat Detroit, life and death, not just beat them. Like, that game went right down to the wire. And then their last game, they got whacked by the Raptors. Have you seen what the Pelicans have done lately? They beat Sacramento by 33. They won at Minnesota by 11. Brooklyn, they beat by 27. The Lakers by 20. That's 4 of the last 5 games. Just absolute romps. They're playing good basketball. Obviously, you want Zion out there, but Bob Myers knew, right? The old GM, he was like, yeah, this is the Titanic. I am going to get off to this thing right now. He left. Normally, smart guys like that are a tad ahead of the curve. He was on to something. I think you only bet the Pelicans. You can't bet the game.
If I may, that's the guy who went over to consult with the Washington Commanders, right?
Correct.
Yep. Best football franchise in all of the land. Not really. Maybe he can fix it. Nuggets -6.5 at the Jazz. Mikey B, I'm going to start with you as usual. This is an interesting line. I mean, 6.5 is a lot of points, but it's the Jazz. I lean towards the Nuggets here, unless you think maybe this could be a flat spot midweek.
These are some crazy stats. Get ready. I'm going to lean towards the Jazz and the +6.5. The Jazz are 5-1 over their last 6 games. They're finally healthy. They dealt with a lot of injuries earlier, but they're healthy now. The Nuggets are 7-12 against the spread on the road. The Jazz are 12-4 against the spread at home, including 9-3 against the spread as a home underdog. So I'll take the Jazz with the points.
All right, Mike McClure, are you taking the Jazz with the points?
I lean that way, yes. Big lean on the Jazz side and the under side of this one, under 237.5. Terrifying in the NBA the way they're scoring this season, but definitely lean the under in this matchup. I think it's going to be a pretty competitive game. I don't think the Jazz end up winning outright, but I do think it's one of those final possession or 2 games here. So if I had to play something, it would be Jazz +6.5 or under 237.5, 238.
All right, Eduardo Diaz, Tim Doyle says, Jazz always beat the Nuggets at home. Do you agree that they're going to cover in this one?
Well, I think you got to bet it right now. So pause this video, jump on somewhere else and bet it, because I do think this is going to go to 5.5, even 5 in this spot. They played earlier this season. Murray and Jokic both played. Denver was -9.5. And to Mike McClure's point, they only won by 8, and they only scored 112 points. I'm sorry, 212 points. So 212 first meeting, now 237.5. It just seems like a wild number, but Jazz are playing much, much better, as Barner said. The thing I love about the Jazz, Laurie marketed, he has the exact same haircut as Terry Doyle, my mom. And if you take Terry Doyle out for a steak dinner, you will call her the next day, Sia. You just don't take Terry Doyle out and just blow her off the rest, okay? So, yeah, I like the Jazz here, plus the points. But bet it now. I do think it's going to go to 5.5.
All right. Well, if you want to pay for that dinner, one way you can do it, you can wager on these games. And there's a place to wager. It's called BetMGM. New BetMGM customers can sign up today and get $158 in bonus bets. Just place your first wager of at least $5, and you will receive $158 instantly in bonus bets, regardless of your wager's outcome, with bonus code EDGE158. That's EDGE158. Ladies and gentlemen, we got to bring Martin Green onto this show. We got to have everybody in the chat hit the like button, and we got to get to our official bets. But before we do that, let's hear a message from our partners.
It's
Martin Green, the guru, all kinds of active in the chat. Now he's on the show. He gives us the salute, and he's got 2 soccer picks to give out for today's action, I believe. Martin, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Sia. Yeah, the first pick is for today, and then I've got a little parlay for tomorrow as well. So it is Coppa Italia taking place today, the Italian Cup, obviously. And AC Milan are taking on Atalanta. AC Milan are up to 3rd in the Serie A table after they beat Empoli 3-0 at the weekend, so they can now shift their focus to this clash, which promises to be an entertaining affair. Games featuring Atalanta generally are pretty entertaining, but the Rossoneri have won their last 4 home games. I think that bodes well. They have a strong head-to-head record against Atalanta, having won their last 2 home matches against this team. Atalanta have really struggled on the road this season, so I think the odds on an AC Milan win look very attractive at +125. You can go draw no bet if you want. You'll get lower odds there, but that would be a safer bet. But I do think that at the San Siro, AC Milan can win this one, and I think it was like a great price. And yeah, just looking forward to tomorrow's Turkish Super League games. I think that Galatasaray and Trabzonspor should both win. Galatasaray beat Sivasspor home and away last season. They're in really relentless form right now, so they should be able to repeat the feat this week. And then there's Samsunspor, who have lost 7 of their 9 away games this season. I think they're likely to struggle at Trabzonspor, who are one of the best teams in Turkey. Great home record this season. So just put them both together, 2 moneyline bets, +145.
All right. I will try to properly pronounce that when we get to the recap screen. Stay tuned because it might be hilarious. All right. My pick hopefully is not hilarious. So I'm going with the UNC Tar Heels tonight. They play NC State, crosstown rival, about 30 miles down the road. It's actually the 3rd road game in a row for UNC, but not really like a true road game in the sense of travel. The long and short of it is I've been on UNC. Everybody who's watching this show, you know we've already won bets on UNC. While I understand that they're a road favorite in a conference game, and by the way, I was just on the other side of that yesterday with the Nebraska play first half. We had a road favorite in Purdue coming in, and I took the underdog. I took Nebraska because I think those conference games can be really tough for the road team, no matter how good they are, especially at the beginning of conference play. But I'm going the other way because I don't think the market is truly appreciating how good UNC is. Some sharp money has come in on the other side. It started at 4.5. Now it's 3.5. It's a much more palatable number here at 3.5. I don't think it'll move to 3. The long and short of it is UNC has been tested big time this season. They just went on the road. Speaking of conference, they played Clemson, beat them on the road. They played Pittsburgh, beat them on the road. And they've played some really tough teams this entire year. Whereas NC State, they really haven't played a tough schedule at all. I mean, they have a couple teams, like they played Tennessee, they played BYU. They lost both of those games. In conference, they've won a few. They're 3-0, but they haven't really been tested. I think UNC comes in here and takes care of business. I just think they're the much better team. It will be a back and forth at the beginning, but I think UNC ends up pulling away. So give me UNC -3.5 at -110. All right. Mikey B was on fire with his NBA prop picks as usual, going 2-0 yesterday. Mike McClure's got a college basketball pick. We've got 2 NBA picks from the man, Tim Doyle himself, who, I don't know, has he broken out the hammer yet? I'm waiting for the hammer prop. I'm not sure if I think he broke it out earlier. Before we get to any of that, though, let's hear one more quick message from our partners.
Like a flying arrow. You with me? Absolutely on the money.
Full speed here. We're racing.
Oh, that was tight.
Gotta go.
And we are on.
Just gotta get to the finish line here, guys.
And now the party can really begin.
Well done, guys.
Mikey B, I turn to you. You have been so good on the NBA props this entire season. You and Proppy and others at SportsLine absolutely crushing it. And you've got a couple of overs here that I'm interested. One is really in my hometown right now, and the other, of course, Domantas Sabonis. So go ahead and lead with that one.
Sabonis has been on fire lately, so we're going to take him over 36.5 points and rebounds at -125. Over the last 12 games, he's averaged 23.4 points and 13.7 rebounds. He had at least 37 combined points and rebounds 7 times during that 12-game stretch. That included a game against the Hornets where he had 23 points and 19 rebounds. Why did he dominate them? Mark Williams was out with a back injury. He's still out. That means Sabonis is going to be left with Nick Richards, backup center for the Hornets. This is a big number, but I still like Sabonis to go over 36.5 points and rebounds. And then let's shift over to Kyle Kuzma, over 23.5 points at -125. This should be a high-scoring game between the Wizards and the Pacers. They are the top 2 teams in the league in pace of play. They both rank inside the bottom 5 in defensive rating. Kuzma has a career-high 31.5% usage rate this season. He has faced the Pacers twice. In those 2 games, he has scored 25 and 31 points, respectively. I think the Wizards can keep this fairly close because Tyrese Halliburton is going to be out for the Pacers. So I think Kuzma's on the floor long enough to go over 23.5 points.
All right. Absolutely love that. That one makes a lot of sense. And by the way, anything that's Sacramento related, obviously we're going to see Big Cheesy in there. He says Sabonis is on fire. He'll say light the beam, which really, even if Sacramento's not playing, he'll say that in the chat once a day at least. But I love how everybody else in the chat is like, oh, Big Cheesy is going to love this one. Japan said that. I think Ben Horner said that. Bradley, love the back and forth there. All right, Mike McClure, you're always giving us some totals, and you're always ahead of the market on totals. You're looking at this Tennessee-Mississippi State game. Go ahead. You've got the floor.
Yeah, see, we're going under in this game tonight. Played it on SportsLine last night, under 141. Still moving at this point during the show even. We're down to 139 a lot of places at this point. I think this thing closes 138 or 137.5. I have it all the way down to 134. So first of all, subscribe to SportsLine, turn the notifications on, make sure you get these. Posted this around 7 p.m. last night, which is when most of my college basketball plays will be posted. But when we look at these 2 teams here, they're both better defensively than they are offensively. We're now into conference play where things tighten up a bit. And when I say better defensively, these are legit top 10 defenses in college basketball. Then you look at the pace of play here. Mississippi State on their home floor, they're going to play pretty significantly below the average in college basketball in terms of pace. Tennessee will definitely play at that tempo with them. One thing Tennessee is going to be very good at is their interior defense. They're going to force a lot of perimeter shots. That's a good thing here because Mississippi State is not a good 3-point shooting team at all. And then on the other end, both teams are competitive on the glass. I don't think we see a ton of second chance points here. This to me projects as a game that moves pretty slow, a very physical defensive battle, somewhat similar to what you saw last night with Iowa State and Houston, just the SEC version of that. I'm going under 141 here. Again, my number is 134. Play it now because it is only going one way, as Tim Doyle likes to say, limbo lower. That's the only way it's going. So give me the under here.
If you don't want to be subjected to limbo lower, which Tim Doyle's already putting the bet in, which I absolutely love. I think he might actually be putting the bet in right now. But listen, if you're not already a member of SportsLine, I know there's of the 500 or 600 people we have watching right now, there's probably 2 at this point that aren't a member of SportsLine. So for you 2 people, one way you can become a member of SportsLine and get that Mike McClure pick a long time ago so the number isn't affected, all you got to do is go to sportsline.com/join and get 60% off the annual plan promo code winners. 60% off the annual plan promo code winners. You can check out the barcode or you can scan that on the screen right now. That's really easy. Or go to sportsline.com/join. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for Tim Doyle's pick. We've got 2 NBA plays. Tim, I'm always excited to hear from you. I know you're going to cash these. I'm not jinxing you, I promise. So go ahead. The floor is yours.
Yeah, 2 plays. I like Houston tonight on the road at Chicago. You know, if you match up Şagun's numbers year 3, they're actually better than Jokic's numbers year 3. Bulls, you never know what you're going to get. Houston lost games to Philly and Indiana that came down to the last possession. Guys, if they won those games, Houston would be in the 6th spot in the West. I actually think they should be favored in this game. So give me the dog there. And then kind of a weird game. I normally don't bet totals. It just puts me in a weird headspace. But the Clippers team total is 124.5. They're playing Toronto. For some reason, Toronto brings in RJ Barrett. Last 3 games for the Raptors, 263, 251, 265. They're going up and down. By the way, they played last night. Tired legs. Maybe dipped out Sunset Boulevard after the game. You know, maybe something going on. Clippers, they were off 124.5. Give me over. I played McClure's play as well, and I turned on my notifications. Thanks, Mike, for that. And what I like about that is I got under 140. Now I'll watch the game, and at halftime, there's a chance to build a village. Oh, you don't know what a village is, do you, Sia? It's called a middle village, all right? Then you can bet over like 124 if it's a low-scoring game in the first half, and then you create a 16-point middle. I want to be the mayor of Middle Village, okay? I want cleaner water, better schools, lower taxes. Come on and build the village with me, okay? Because that's the best way to bet when you're able to hedge your bet, protect your bet, as well as create an opportunity to win 2 bets. So if you're not building villages, if you're not building middle villages, you're not living.
Wow. Quite the statement. Vote Tim Doyle. He approves of this message. M2 moves lines quick, says pretty much the whole chat, including Martin Lauro and James Murphy. Rick Funcannon says Doyle kills it on NBA picks, and he kills it on this show, The Early Edge, as well. Let's take a look at not just Tim's bets, not just Mike's bets, but all of the bets. Martin Green. Oh, this is going to be tough, everybody. AC Milan money line at plus money, plus 125. Galatasaray plus Trabzonspor money line, plus 145. Pretty sure I nailed it. UNC minus 3.5 on the road at NC State. Mikey B's got Domantas Sabonis over 36.5 points and rebounds. Kyle Kuzma over 23.5 points at minus 125. Hey, real quick, if I may, because there was a question about Kyle Kuzma over 24.5 points. Mikey B, do you authorize that play as well, or is it a stay away?
No, I authorize it. That one game that he scored 25 points against them, he only played 25 minutes because it was a blowout. So I think he gets at least 30 minutes this game. I'm okay with the over 24.5 too.
Great question, Josh. Thank you for that answer, Mikey B. Mike McClure, Tennessee, Mississippi State, under 141. He believes it's at 139, I think he said at most books, and that's still playable. Tim Doyle, Rockets plus 3.5, and Clippers team total over 124.5. Exciting show as usual, boys. We got Tim Doyle. He's got the bag of cash, the sunglasses, and the black tee. He and I are going to the club right after this. A little night at the Roxbury action. We'll have it videoed. We'll put it on social. It's going to be super, super fun. Ladies and gentlemen, that's our show. We'll join you tomorrow. Same time, same place, of course. And you know, on this channel, we've got Inside the Lines. We've got a lot of programming coming up. But I will tell you this, Sony Open. We'll have picks for the Sony Open tomorrow on this very show. So make sure you're in the chat for those, because some of those round 1 matchups will be going about an hour or 2 right after this show closes. So maybe some first round leaders, maybe some outright picks, maybe some round 1 matchups and tournament matchups. Stay tuned for all of that. On behalf of Martin Green in the chat and on the show, on behalf of Mikey B, Tim Doyle, Mike McClure, and Jake the Snake on the 1s and 2s and 3s and 4s. This is The Early Edge. I am the counselor, and we rest our case.